Hi again, everybody. Welcome into the Unash and Dukes podcast, the latest edition here on CRM Live Sports, the Unash and Dukes podcast Facebook page. YouTube, just go under Unash and Dukes podcast. You can find it easily right there. And many other ways to interact with us. Get the link to all of the programs. And they are archived as well at crmlivesports.com. If you miss any, you can go back and listen to those and view those at your leisure. That's a big thanks to one of our great sponsors, Hunt Graphic Innovations. Todd Hunt does a terrific job for us. The Unash and Dukes podcast is presented by Emel's Hideaway, First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids. They're right across from the Lindale Mall, next to the Home Depot, and we can't thank them enough. They're open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday. They're your home for the best tasting American food around. Choose from your favorite chicken pasta dishes, pizza, burgers, and fries. Whether you're bringing the whole family for a meal or wetting your whistle at their fully stocked bar, there's something to satisfy all ages and tastes at their classic local American restaurant. So thanks to Emel's Hideaway. Mark, this is one of those tough ones. Two things today. Again, the great Gus Schrader would say it's all hash today. It could be, but we could be talking about something that could change 180 degrees in the next 3 hours, unbeknownst to us, unbeknownst to anybody out there. And that is, of course, what everybody's talking about. That is the Matt Campbell saga and situation. Is Matt Campbell going to be pulling a Cale Sanderson and moving to State College, Pennsylvania, and becoming the new coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions? That is the big question right now. And this is not your rumor, Matt Campbell rumor du jour that Iowa State fans have been living with for the past 3 or 4 years. There are legs to this. There is fire, there is smoke, and they have made them. Penn State has made it very clearly known that this is the guy they are after.
Well, if Matt Campbell wins 12 national titles at Penn State, it'll be a great hire, right? Talking about Cale Sanderson, but as we talk, it seems like it's only a matter of I's being dotted and T's being crossed in terms of Campbell going to Penn State. It started 24 hours ago, maybe even before that, but it appears for all intents and purposes, Matt Campbell is leaving Ames and going to Penn State to replace James Franklin, essentially. A lot of aspects to the story, I think, not only from Campbell in particular, but Iowa State, how Penn State has operated in this whole thing, and what it means in the larger picture for all the principles in this. So I'll start wherever you want to.
Well, I think it's why. Why now? Um, you and I have talked for many years on a different platform about the fact that Matt Campbell, as everybody knows, is an Ohio native, former coach at Toledo, former player at Mount Union. Pennsylvania is not Ohio, but this is, other than Ohio State and their move to Ryan Day, staying within the family, this is the first real big job that has opened up in that particular region. And it's a good fit. This is the kind of job that we kind of suspected that Matt Campbell might be tied to and might be interested in from the start. So I guess I am not surprised by this. Um, I don't think Iowa State fans are ultimately surprised by it. I think they're hoping above all hope that he's going to do an about face and stay in Ames. But I'm with you. I think that it's just a matter of time before the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted on this.
Yeah, I often think about this when there's a coaching change, particularly when it's close to home like this. And Matt Campbell, who spent 10 years at Iowa State and arguably the best coach in Iowa State football history. But I wonder what goes through a coach's mind. Certainly it's the money. Certainly it's an opportunity. You have to weigh family. You have to weigh a lot of things. Uh, If I'm Matt Campbell, I'm sitting back and thinking, I put in 10 good years at Iowa State. I've got a contract that runs through the start of the next decade. I've got a young family, four kids under 10 years old, who are apparently like it a whole lot of names. He could be a Kirk Ferentz, and they would resurrect a statue to Matt Campbell when he's all done. Um, in terms of the money, how many millions does one need? Matt Campbell is making $5 million at Iowa State, incentives and whatnot. Let's just say it's $5, $6 million at Iowa State. He's going to make a whole lot more than that at Penn State. But it's not like Iowa State could back up the Brinks truck. And I mean, Iowa State is facing a $24 million deficit in its athletic department for the next 6 years. Jamie Pollard, the athletic director, has already said that. They postponed renovations at Hilton Coliseum. They postponed a wrestling facility. It's Iowa State is not Penn State. Um, a whole lot of coaches got a little bit richer after James Franklin was fired. A half a dozen at least got contract extensions. Kurt Cignetti, Sataki at BYU, and others. This was not a case that Iowa State could do the same thing. But I wonder if Penn State is really a better job. And that sounds silly to say, but if your ultimate goal is to reach the college football playoffs and win a national championship, there's only a couple, three, maybe four schools where that's, I think, feasible on an annual basis. At Penn State and in the Big Ten Conference, you have Ohio State, you have Michigan, you have the Indiana that rises up. You can't beat Iowa lately. You have USC and you have Oregon, a lot of contenders, as opposed to at Iowa State. I don't think the competition is as great to reach the college football playoffs in the Big 12. Couple that with the fact that Iowa State has 17 returning starters back and has just 48 hours ago accumulated what observers are saying is one of the best classes in Iowa State history. So I'm kind of wrestling with this in terms of, is it good for Penn State? Is it good for Iowa State? Penn State might have had their guy when they fired James Franklin. He might have been the best. He lost a double overtime game to Oregon, and then they stubbed their toe against UCLA and Northwestern. They might have had their guy in Terry Smith, who played at Penn State, has been there for 10 years. The players wanted him. So I threw out a lot of things there, but it's just a really interesting situation from both sides.
It is, and you hit on a couple of things. Number one, yes, Iowa State can't back the truck up. Um, it's going to be Matt Campbell's decision. If he wants to stay in Ames, ultimately, probably going to get a boost out of it, but it's not going to be anywhere near what he is going to be making per year at Penn State. Um, Iowa State can, to be honest with you, 70% of the Power Four schools cannot do that. It's not an Iowa problem.
At
It's
least, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an Iowa State problem. It's not an Iowa couldn't do it as well. Iowa may be more equipped to do it than Iowa State at this moment, but they couldn't do it as well. If Penn State wants to outbid somebody, they're going to outbid somebody. That's just the way of the world right now. And you also mentioned kind of at a crossroads, and I think Matt Campbell's at that crossroads. And I mean, we remember back, what, Mark, 10, 12 years ago, Kirk Ferentz was at that crossroads. Probably a little bit older than what Matt Campbell is right now, but you and I both remember a bowl game for Iowa that all through the game, they were talking about the fact Kirk Ferentz was going to be named the new coach at USC the next day. Never happened. Then he was going to be the head coach in the NFL. That never happened. So I agree with you. I think it's to the point right now where Matt Campbell says, I'm either going to take the next step or I'm going to be a lifer at Iowa State. And I'm going to get that statue. Should be right next to Dan McCarney's statue, by the way. More on that coming up later for Mac. But if he's going to make a move, Matt Campbell is going to make a move right now. And it might just be the perfect storm. I agree with you. James Franklin is a good coach, and James Franklin's in a great spot now. You don't think Virginia Tech is doing a jig over there in Blacksburg because, hey, we're in the ACC. We got our guy. He's bringing his recruits. Let's play football. And I'm not going to say the cupboard's bare in State College, but a good portion of that recruiting group that James Franklin had, and it was a good one. Top 10 in the country is now going to Blacksburg, Virginia to play. And I'm sure some of the guys are going to, if Matt Campbell goes to Happy Valley, some of those guys are going to follow to Happy Valley. I mean, that's just inevitable at this point. But I guess to sum it all up, if you need to make a move right now, if you're Matt Campbell, this is the time to make a move. And it is a familiar area. He knows the area very, very well of Ohio and Pennsylvania. It is talent rich. I agree with you. It's going to be much harder to get to the college football playoff, although the fact the Big Ten every year is going to get at the minimum 3, at the maximum 5 teams in. We'll see how it plays out this year. More on that coming up. But yeah, at Ames, he will have some, 8-win seasons, 7-win seasons. Is 10 wins going to be enough for Matt Campbell when he goes to state, if he goes to state college? Let's put it that way.
Well, when he goes to state college, he's not walking into the best of situations. Number one, I think there was only 2 commits that stayed with Penn State this past week. All the rest of them decommitted. Some of them went to Virginia Tech to join Franklin. The athletic director situation is very slippery. I mean, apparently he whiffed on multiple candidates. And if you're Matt Campbell, you're not the first choice. I don't care what anybody says, you weren't the first choice. Otherwise, you would have been hot and heavy back in October when Franklin was dismissed. Uh, and what's the composition of how many players is Campbell going to bring along? How many going to be retained? Twitter was full of players at Penn State saying, Terry Smith is our guy. We want Terry Smith. And now if Terry Smith is not on that staff, let alone be the head coach, how many of those 4 and 5 stars are going to jump ship as well? So maybe there will be a longer leash for Matt Campbell, and I think there will be coming out of the chute. But Penn State's one of those schools that's not too patient.
No, they are not. Now, keep in mind, this is the same situation. If you remember Kalen DeBoer coming into Alabama, hey, everybody saw Mr. Proctor down at Carter Hawkeye Arena on a couple of different occasions. He's going to Iowa, and everybody's leaving T-Town, not fast enough. And most of them circled back and went right back to Tuscaloosa as soon as they met the new coach. And if Matt Campbell goes to State College, I have a feeling that is going to be very similar to what happened down at Alabama, but it remains to be seen. Now, let's play the what-if game, Mark. Let's just say Matt Campbell goes to Penn State sometime over the weekend, early next, whenever. What does Iowa State do? Where are they going to go? Are they going to turn to somebody on the staff? Mauser, new offensive coordinator for 2 years. Haycock, I don't know with his age if he's a great defensive coordinator, no doubt about that. But is he the guy you want? Because you could be doing this again in 3 or 4 years if that is the case. Or is there somebody else on the staff for Iowa State, or are they going to go to State College with Matt Campbell if he is named their new head coach?
I don't think that this certainly sets the Iowa State program back. I don't care who you hire. And we can go through the list of names. A guy like Nate Shieldhouse was on the Iowa State staff. He's trying to get to the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams as an assistant coach. I'm not sure he's ready to take off in the next 24 to 48 hours to be the Iowa State coach. But think about it. And how many of the current players, Rocco Beck included, are going to stay at Iowa State? How many of the recruits, the Roberts kid out of Des Moines, a four-star receiver, very highly thought of, is he going to go leave, a decommit, go to Penn State, go elsewhere? All these highly prized recruits that Campbell raved about 48 hours ago, how many of those are going to be around? And what kind of support is the Iowa State fan base going to give the new coach, no matter who it is? Uh, Obviously, they were all in on Matt Campbell, and they're really in a bad way right now, the Iowa State fans. And I don't blame them one bit, losing a coach like Matt Campbell. But this is in the near term anyway. I don't think it's much good news for Iowa State.
Matt Campbell is going to win, right? One way or the other, he's going to win. He's
At
either
least for a
going,
couple, 3 years.
yes, he's either going to be going getting a lot more money in State College, Pennsylvania, or he's going to get your nice little stay with us coach bump in salary in Ames. It's not going to be anywhere near what Penn State is offering, but still, he's going to end up okay coming out of it this weekend. And like you said, it's the transition. Shieldhouse, yeah, I can see that name being bantered about. That's a pretty easy one. Other than that, Jamie Pollard hit a home run when he went to Toledo last time and got somebody out of the MAC. Does he go to a situation similar to that again? Um, Remains to be seen. I don't think it necessarily needs to be someone who is in the Cyclone family. It's not like a Michigan man, or it's got to be an Ohio State tie or something like that. So if he has to come up with a new coach, I think it's a national search, to be honest with you.
I think it has to be real quick, too. And I don't know what quick means. Within a week, something like that, if that's possible, because uh, you've already gone through signing day and the transfer portal opens in a couple, 3 weeks. And you've got to do some homework in that regard if you're going to replenish this roster. So I think Pollard's got to move pretty quickly.
I would agree. I would agree. Now, all this, who knows? Matt Campbell may change his mind and stay in Ames.
I think we can mark it down.
You think we're marking it down? All right. Percentage wise, how sure are you?
Let me see. Let me write my signature. That's about as close as it is right now.
I'm I'm hanging at about 80%.
Oh, I think it's higher than that, Scott.
You think it's higher?
That he's going to Penn State?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, reputable national college football writers, Adam Rittenberg and others, aren't out there posting about Matt Campbell close to a deal with Penn State without having it on good authority. Now, the Iowa State people, Cyclone Fanatic and Cyclone Larry, are hanging on to the very last thread. I watched Cyclone Fanatic's podcast about an hour ago, around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and they said, "Well, nobody in the building, according to our sources, know anything." Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Come on. Um, Apparently, the Penn State president was met with Campbell yesterday, whether it was by Zoom. I think he went to Ames. I can't confirm that for sure, but I think it's much higher than 80%.
So get ready for the follow the airplanes over the next 2 weeks, right?
Well, that's what they did. That's what they did out in Pennsylvania last night.
Yep. Following
If you
airplanes
took a look, yeah.
for the next 2 weeks. That is one of my favorite games in the college football world. So that's not the only as we transition, and more on Matt Campbell, obviously, coming up when we get more news on it. But the transition for the Cyclones into one of the top games, if not the top game so far this year in college men's basketball. Coming up on Saturday, late morning, early afternoon, as Iowa State will find out the wonderment that is Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, Indiana, as Iowa State goes to take on number one Purdue on Saturday. This one has all the earmarks of what could be a real classic.
Yeah, and the word out today that Taman Lipsey is back at practice, and that would be a big boost for the Cyclones. And they played very well. I mean, I'm not judging it by Alcorn State the other night when guy came off the bench for Iowa State and scored 26 points. I mean, you can't hang your hat on that. But Iowa State played well early in the season, and this is by far its biggest test so far, and Purdue's biggest test as well. This is not going to. It's going to be a great game, I think.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how Iowa State folks compare Mackey to, say, Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, because I think that's the only place that you can, the only two that are comparable between the Big Ten and the Big 12. Um, we know how tough it is at Allen Fieldhouse. Beware of the fog. We also know how tough it is at West Lafayette, Mark. I mean, you've been there. I've been there. That place is an absolute zoo. When you get the paint crew in there and everybody, they are right on top of you. And Iowa State has not had a road game yet. Yeah, and that's what kind of scares me a little bit going into this one.
We'll see how Jefferson does. He's off to a terrific start for the Cyclones. Guys like Buchanan, I think Momcilovic needs to hit his outside shots, needs to knock down 3, 4, 5 3-pointers. And if Lipsey is back, that's going to be a big boost to neutralize Purdue's guards, who are terrific. Uh, I think Iowa State's certainly capable of going to Purdue and winning, but it's going to be a heck of a matchup, I think.
And you can't lose out of this thing. I
Not
mean,
at all.
it's early in the season. It's a quad one. There's no losing in this. The only way would be a bad situation for Iowa State is if they, just got the doors blown off. And I don't think that's going to happen. They're just too
It's
good to have.
interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting week for Iowa State because the Cyclones play Iowa next week in Ames, I believe, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So
Correct.
good stretch for Iowa State.
On Wednesday and Thursday, the women's and the men's
Yeah.
games both over in Ames. Speaking of the Hawkeyes, coming off their first loss, basically their first road game, started off well for the first 2 or 3 minutes, and then it kind of went south after that. But Iowa back home. We'll see what the crowd is like with a start with only one loss. But that old, I guess that just thing that hung over all of Fran McCaffrey's teams, it seems. Iowa is facing that again tomorrow, and that's the 0-2 Big Ten start. They play Maryland tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It is not a great Maryland team. It's a brand new Maryland team. Very few of the names are the same from last year. New coach with Buzz Williams. Brought in a lot of guys from the portal, a lot of new guys as well. Maryland's lost, I think, 3 coming into this. If you are Ben McCullum and you want to get the fan base behind you, and if you are at all thinking about getting into the NCAA tournament, you got to win this game. I'm not going to say this is a must game for Iowa tomorrow, but by golly, you got to win this game.
I think all of that is true. The loss at Michigan State was expected. I'm not sure it was in that fashion to me anyway, but I think it pointed out some of Iowa's, at least some things that Iowa needs to work on. Some of it is within its control, some of it isn't. And that's getting more scoring outside of Bennett Sturts. It really needs to do that, whether it's Fulgaris needs to stay out of foul trouble because he's a good offensive weapon, I think. Combs and Banks and Koch and others uh, uh, need to score more. It was tough against Michigan State. They played terrific defense. It's a really, really good team that you might see in the Final Four at the end of the year. Not so much about Maryland. This is a game that Iowa, I think, can win. I'm not saying it should win, but it's going to be not as difficult as it was at East Lansing, I don't think. And I fully expect Iowa to come out and play very well.
We talked about it at the start that teams that are big, physical on the inside and can guard you in the perimeter are going to be Iowa's kryptonite this year.
That was
That
Sparty.
and that's Sparty. That's also Iowa State coming up on Thursday in Ames. They're going to be two tough places for Iowa to even compete, let alone win. Maryland's not quite that, and it's at home. You got to have a good fan base behind you, and I'm not going to say it's a must win, but 0-2 is not going to get the fans real excited at this point, Mark. You're not going to put butts in the seats when you start 0-2 again.
No, even though McCollum is, I think people give him some grace period here in the first year, but uh, I still like this Iowa team. I don't think it's a great team. I think it's a good above average team, but it's going to be susceptible, as you say, to teams that are strong on the front line because Yahoo, he is not what Michigan State threw at them this past week. And any team that has that type of presence is going to give Iowa problems.
Yeah. Iowa needs a big game from Bennett Sturts. They need Fulgaris to come through. They need others to come through and make some outside shots and make some shots, period. So we'll see how that plays out. We also have the championship Saturday in college football. I am really interested in how this is all going to play out, especially, Mark. Let's just play devil's advocate and say, let's just say BYU beats Texas Tech. Let's just say Duke beats Virginia. And let's say Georgia beats Alabama. What the heck is going to happen in the college football playoff at the bottom of this thing for spots 8, 9, 10, and 11? What the heck is going to happen with this? Because does 3-loss Alabama trump 3-loss Texas at this point? For me, I don't think you can penalize a team for losing in the conference championship game. That's an extra game. That's my opinion on it. I think Alabama gets a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for playing in the championship game, but I'm not on the committee, Mark.
I'm assuming you like horror films too, if you outline that scenario. I think a lot of those uh, possible victories are pie in the sky, but I could be wrong. You never know. Certainly, the focus is on Indiana, Ohio State, not because it matters whether either one is going to get in the college football playoffs, because it doesn't. It's for overall number one seed, and it's history really, because I think it's only the fourth time number one and two ranked teams nationally from the Big Ten are meeting. We're very familiar with one of them, that being the 85 Iowa Michigan game. Another one involved Iowa too. That was back in 1960 when Iowa played Minnesota. But what I'm saying is this is a rarity for the one and two teams in the country to be meeting on a Big Ten gridiron, and that's what we have Saturday night. There's some other interesting games. You mentioned BYU and Texas Tech. Alabama, Georgia. Alabama's really owned Georgia. Uh, but I think Georgia's capable of winning that game. I think Alabama's going to win the game. But that's another. I think Indiana, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia are the two games I want to watch.
Can Indiana beat Ohio State?
Well, it certainly could. I mean, it's a matchup of two great quarterbacks in Mendoza and Sayin. And statistically, now they play different schedules. Statistically, they kind of mirror each other. But just the eyeball test and watching um, Ohio State, I just think if it plays anywhere near its capabilities, I don't think Indiana's going to be able to hang with them.
Indiana got blown out last year in the game.
Yeah.
They were undefeated going into Columbus for that one. It's not in Columbus. It's in Indiana's backyard. They're going to have the majority of the fans there. Not going to have all of them. Buckeye Nation travels very, very well, and it's not a long trip from Columbus to Indy as either. Um, I just watching Ohio State and what they did at Michigan last week. That team has got it. There's not an Achilles heel on that team, and I just don't see unless Mendoza absolutely tears it up. I don't see Indiana coming within 2 touchdowns. I don't.
No, and ironically, I was flipping around the channels and I ran across one of those Big Ten and 30 shows, and it was Iowa, Indiana from this year. Man, Iowa should have won that game. We shouldn't be talking about an undefeated Indiana team right now.
Should be,
I mean, that was cruel to watch.
should be
And
talking about a one-loss team.
don't tell me if Gronowski would have played. Hank Brown made some pretty good throws in that game. He threw an interception, but Iowa should have won that game.
And we'll know next week when we meet again where the bowl destinations will be and who will
Yep.
be coaching Iowa State at said bowl destination. So,
I'll see you in Vegas, okay?
do you think it's Vegas?
I do.
I think it is too, but everyone's telling me Tampa. So, I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll talk more about that. We got a lot of good things planned for uh, next week too, and in the next couple of weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we can't let the cat out of the bag, but that too shall come. Really excited about a couple segments that are coming up in the next week or two.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And we want to take this opportunity to thank, of course, Emil's Hideaway, our presenting sponsor on First Avenue Southeast, but also American Family Insurance agent Kurt Gustafson on Johnson Avenue Northwest, right across from the Johnson Avenue High V. And couldn't do it without him as well. We told you about Hunt Graphic Innovations, Bim Ritter Sportswear in Cedar Rapids, your complete apparel and headwear provider. And you can see them at 817 2nd Avenue Southeast in downtown Cedar Rapids. Or call 364-3479. And Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast in Cedar Rapids. Give John a call. Set up an appointment. Everybody needs to get that skin checked out. And John is the best out there. So couldn't do without all of our great sponsors. And it's going to be a fun weekend, Mark, an interesting weekend, and be a lot to talk about when we get together again on Monday.
Looking forward to it. Thanks to all those sponsors, and everybody have a great weekend, right?
We will. All right. See you then.
All right.
Been the Unash and Dukes podcast right here. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.